there is a part of the mentality of quite a lot of Americans, I find, that can be activated by what I call the John Wayne mentality. John Wayne was a kind of a symbol of how they wanted to be, you know, the cavalry coming over the horizon, and here's John, big, go get him, John, okay, to hell I will, you know, all that stuff. And what the Bush administration does, and how he conducts himself, because I'm sure he thinks he's bloody John Wayne, they activate that part of the psyche of many Americans, particularly American, you know, men and all that stuff, the macho men, that start to see the world in this black and white terms of good and bad. We're the, you know, for freedom and liberating people, and that makes them feel good. Gives them a kind of a power, yes, we're good guys, yeah, we'll sort it out, hey, we're strong, we're tough, hey. But what I do find is that more and more Americans are rejecting that simplistic, ludicrous vision of life. But of course there's still large numbers who do see it like that, and the people that do, Bush would be a hero, because like, he even walks like John Wayne, doesn't he? He gets off that bloody helicopter, walks across the lawn. I was thinking, looks like he needs the bathroom. I was a bit late the way he walks there. I always get that feeling, you know. Did you miss the bathroom, Jordan? Probably, you know. So he does exude that. Just as Reagan was someone who played to the heartstrings of the American dream emotionally on another level. And I mean, this guy was another guy who just about knew how to tie his shoelaces. But because in his B-movie actor manner, he was able to articulate this American dream kind of deal. He pulled people towards him. And what Bush is doing is playing that John Wayne character, really. It does have an effect, but only for a while, because you know, the consequences that are coming of this whole agenda for America are absolutely horrendous. First of all, it's going to destroy the economy. I think America was set up to be a vehicle for this agenda to manifest globally. And ironically, while Bush is articulating about, as you point out, freeing other countries and liberating other countries, while this is going on, the liberation of America is being destroyed by the day.
I agree with you.
Now, I am suspect of any country which has to tell its people over and over again, this is the land of the free. If it was the land of the free, it should be patently obvious. And what happens, Mike, and I found this with people I've met over the years, is that when they're not touched by it directly, they kind of detach from it. Oh no, this is the land of the free. And then something happens in their lives, and suddenly they realize, hey, this is a fascist state, this is a police state. So to a large extent, a lot of people are only going to wake up when they're faced in their own experience with the reality of what's going on. Because what happens with these authoritarian states is that as long as the people abide by the rules, the people are basically left alone. Once they don't abide by the rules, then they're jumped upon. If you take the example of troops, when troops play by the rules and they do as they're told and they go out and blow people away in Iraq or wherever, they're fine. They're heroes, you know, great heroes, just so brave. When they come home with Gulf War syndrome, suddenly they're not playing by the rules. Hey, you're complaining about this, you're causing us a problem here, and suddenly they're not heroes anymore.
You know, people talk about, well, you must never believe what the government says, you must never believe what the media says, but so many people just go ahead and do that. And the lack of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq were like somebody reminding you, see, look, governments lie. And after 2003 and all that, this awakening, this questioning of the world, this questioning of authority got more and more blatant. And as the police state and the Orwellian state is breaking the surface ever more obviously, it's getting more and more people to see the world in a way that they wouldn't have done before. And it's getting faster and faster, and it's a great time to be doing what we're doing, putting this information out, and it's very, very encouraging. The whole conspiracy is founded on keeping humanity in a very, very low level of perception about self, perception about the world. This is why we have the dumbing down of education. This is why we have the controlled so-called information that comes through the media. The idea is to keep people in ignorance of anything that would be a problem to the control system. So we're kept in ignorance about the nature of reality itself, the nature of life itself, who we are, where we are, what we're doing here. We're kept in ignorance of the true forces that are manipulating behind the people we see in the public arena, like we had 8 years of Bush, who was blatantly just a figurehead signing his name on the legislation, and he's been replaced by Obama, who is another blatant figurehead doing the same, controlled by the same force ultimately that controlled Bush. Now all these connections have to be kept from people so that we behave and perceive the world and everything in the way that suits the control system. So any awakening, any opening of the mind to see things that people didn't see before is a real big problem for the conspiracy, for the manipulators. And what we're seeing now, as more and more people are awakening, is almost a panic-stricken attempt to put the lid on this, to dumb people down. And this is one reason why we're seeing the ever greater drugging of American children, not just American children, but in the wider world too. While we're seeing more and more of these chemical cocktails in food that destabilize the body's chemical balance, and more electromagnetic pollution to destabilize the body's electromagnetic balance. All of these things fundamentally affect the way people see the world and their ability to think sharply, to think straight, and to see the peripheral vision which you need to see what's actually going on. They want us here. And what an awakening mind does is start to do this. And when you do that, you start to connect dots that you can't actually see here. What we're looking at now is an irresistible force, I would suggest, which is the gathering awakening of humanity coming face to face with what thinks it's the immovable object, the conspiracy, but isn't, as we'll see, although it's going to take some years before that becomes obvious. And so we're at this fork in the road where people have to choose. Are they going to go on being controlled sheep and robots of the control system, or are they going to wake up and take the road to freedom? That's the fork in the road, and that's the choice that people are facing now.